You doing phenomenal, man. The future's so bright. I gotta wear shades. What can I tell you, man?
Yeah, well, you were just telling me, Brian, I have a 2 year prediction, and I said, hold that thought. Let me
Oh
hit record.
yeah,
So, Tim, come on,
yeah,
spit
yeah,
it out.
brother. Hang on tight, man. Next 2 years are going to be a challenge. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm watching the world as we're in right now, and I'm watching all the challenges in the marketplace, and clients are financially they're paycheck to paycheck right now, man. It's
Mhm.
very very tough. They don't have cash. The sellers are actually I've had some sellers actually have to bring money to the table to close. People that bought a house 2 years ago unfortunately can't sell. It's market's different, and it reminds me of after the Great Recession, and it took quite a number of years. I think this is like a 7 year trend. We're in year five. What's that tell you? We got deuce, 2 more years before we're going to see that turnaround. And that turnaround will happen because it'll be another presidential election. There'll be new energy. There'll be wanting to throw money out on the table. There'll be all these first
We
time
thought all
homebuyer
that. We
programs.
thought all that when Trump got in.
Yeah, but I think it's going to happen now. I think they're going to need to do something in this marketplace. I think we have 2 years to hang on tight now. Well, now, one of the things that we got to keep in mind, though, if you look at the stats, how much down are we really today in sales compared to last year, Brian? What are we looking at here?
Well, year to date, we're down 3%, which, again,
That's really
you got
not
it.
bad,
Nah,
man.
nah, nah, nah. Hold on. You need some
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah.
What was last year? Down. What was the year before? Down. The year before? Down. Like we're down
We've been
from
down since 21.
we're
Let's
down
call it what
from
it is.
we're
Yeah,
underneath the house, and we're
yeah.
digging. We're down, down,
So we're
down.
down 5 years in a row, unfortunately, on sales. I mean, it's
Yeah.
happened. Now, what's happened to values, Brian?
But we're also down compared to like what a normal market was, like back in 2018, 17, 16, when there was fewer people living in Maryland 10 years ago,
It
I'm
is a bit
assuming.
challenging. There were, yes, yes,
And
that's
those were
true.
not even like banger years. 2017 wasn't a banger year. Like it
No,
wasn't
it was not.
great.
Nope,
And
nope,
it was
nope.
actually very hard to sell your house. The days on market was
Yeah,
way up
yeah.
compared to
Oh,
today.
yeah.
But other than that, there was actually more sales in 2017 than there was this year.
It is wild to compare that. I mean, when you look at it now, keep in mind, sales units are down, but what about volume is
Almost exactly flat, 0.6% of the number of volume. You're talking about
interesting.
like the like 20,
Yeah,
20 billion in volume. Like you add up
yeah,
the sales prices of all the houses. Yeah, well, the
yeah.
sales prices are up 3.7%,
There you go. There you
but
go.
that's just
Exactly right, brother.
inflation. It's just inflation. It's not
It is.
even, they're
It
not
is.
actually up, right? I
No, and
mean,
so I think that's the number people don't realize is some of these numbers are skewed because really what we should be tracking is unit sales are down, right? But volume is up because houses have appreciated. Now that's something that you still have to put a certain amount of credence to,
well, I'll
Brian. I
tell you
mean,
one thing that
realistically.
I have a theory on, and I have not investigated this theory. So I'm gonna say this just off the top of my head.
Sure.
I think that the upper end of the market is in a different economic reality than the people that are in the middle and the lower end of the market.
I
So
concur.
at the upper end of the market, you have people with a bunch of money in their stocks and a bunch of time in a house that they already owned. So if you have sold a house you lived in for 15 or 20 years and you're in your 60s and you have a bunch of money in the stock market, and or you live in different parts of Maryland, Bethesda, Montgomery County, Silver Spring, like you work for the government, you have a bunch of money in a 401k and whatnot. Your portfolio is like just beautiful. Northern Virginia, it's just
True
beautiful.
that.
But if
Very
you
true.
are
Very
a
true.
working class person who doesn't have a lot of money in the stock market, what you've seen is the cost of everything go up. The wages have been somewhat flat, like they're going up, but it doesn't keep up with inflation. And you've seen house prices shooting to a place that they're just completely
Well,
out of reach.
I think there's two other factors you have to take in consideration. This is probably the first time truly that we've had multiple government furloughs, which in our marketplace has been significant.
Yeah.
And people have actually lost their jobs. So I think that's had some significant impact. And then, the other thing that I'm getting a lot of calls on, which is kind of wild, is seniors that are asking about reverse mortgages.
Yeah, because they don't want to sell
Yeah.
their house. There's like a
Nope.
freeze out. Like
Correct.
these boomers are just not selling. Like they won't sell their house, and
Well,
well, and they're holding on to their little castles, and it's
they are
creating
because
some.
they're looking around saying, "Where in the hell do I move?" Number one, right, and then number two, they're like, you know what? I should hold on because it's just going to get better.
Yeah,
It's going to be interesting.
yeah,
But I will also point out to you, Brian, that in a tough market like this, two things have occurred, right? When you do have a shrinking of marketplace, we've had, in my opinion, primarily the biggest issue has been lack of inventory,
yeah.
right? And let's face it, it is what it is. And we talked about this the other day. Even the inventory we have, it's not in great shape. And then you told me, which I thought was wild as hell. You said, Tim, people don't realize the number one factor that houses don't sell is because, remember you told me this.
It's the condition of the house. But let me just back up. I
Yeah.
would tell you right now that, prior to 2019, it was a lot easier to sell a $350,000 house than it was $1 million house.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
I
No
think
question
right
about
now it's actually easier to sell $1 million house than it is a $450,000 house.
that. If it's in good condition.
Yeah,
No?
yeah. I mean, if let's just say all things being equal, I think
Okay.
there's I think it's the market is easier, and I can't back that up.
Sure.
I would have to really look at like
Yeah.
local statistics, but I would have to sort of compare how hard
Right.
it used to be versus what it is now, and this, that, and the other. But I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you the transactions I'm involved in.
Right?
They're,
What are you seeing right
They're
now?
much easier to deal with.
Uh-huh.
It's that lower end of the market, 400. Now we call 400 the low end of the market, but the $400,000 houses are all struggle bus situations where the sellers are frustrated, the buyers are frustrated, the financing is always dicey, and they're
Well, a lot
always
of deals are challenging. I mean, or I got clients whose their tax returns came back and they amended them, and now they're losing money versus getting money. It is insane what I'm seeing, Brian. It really is.
But I feel like that end of the market is having a harder time because I think what you're seeing when you're seeing like the number of sales up and the volume,
Sure.
it's like kind of flat. Like I
Yeah.
still feel like there's different markets where things are still well. Like just in Calvert County, like Huntingtown, it's still relatively easy to sell a nice house if you have a waterfront house. And it's priced right. Like it's actually, there's still a lot of buyers coming out of Northern Virginia that are buying them if you have unique properties.
True that.
But if you have a split foyer, split level, small size Rambler, you're having a harder time to get a number of buyers in the door, and the number of showings is down just in the Lusby, St. Leonard, Prince Frederick
True that.
area,
Very true.
and it just feels like the transactions just they're slower moving, they're less. I don't know what the right metaphor is, but they're just more challenging in every aspect. The buyers want more repairs. They're less likely to just agree to everything, and the sellers are also just having a hard time. So I feel like
Oh, yeah.
it is not a situation most of the time. There's obviously everything's mixed, right? But on a spectrum, there's more people having a hard time than there was in the past, even with a similar number of sales, because back then people were finally just happy that they were getting their home sold because they had to hang on to it from 2008. They didn't have enough equity to sell until 2017, 18, 19. They were just happy to. So it's a lot of perspective. We could talk about perspective, but people don't like that.
And I think you got a great point because I think a lot of the sellers that sold their home and then bought another house had the perspective of, hey, I made $100,000 last time. I need to make $100,000 this time, right? I mean, I'll be honest with you. That is the case.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny because I have people that call me and I look up when they bought their house, and I'm getting a lot of calls for people that bought in 2022. I don't know if it was like a buyer remorse year, but people who bought their house in 2022 now want to sell it, and I'm just like,
Well, it's been almost 5 years. I mean, we typically see a 5 to 7 year cycle. I mean, that's typical, right?
Yeah, but you're talking about like skinny numbers now, so
Numbers are very tight.
it's
Yeah.
all about perspective because if you want to just do a straight math equation, let's just say that on average over the past 100 years, homes appreciated about 2.5% to 3% per year. It's inflation, right? That's just
Which
the
is
average.
still that's still pretty, and that means that if they appreciated 3%, that means every 24 years they doubled in price.
Yeah.
Still not
But
bad.
if you were to
I mean,
take
to be
that
honest with you.
and then you
Yeah.
were to take out the principal payments that you make, it
Mm-hmm.
normally takes 3.5 to 4 years to get to a place where you're going to break even when you
Right.
factor in the cost of selling.
But
Cost of selling
people
being
fail to factor in the tax benefit. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's a piece of the pie.
No, you're
cannot
right.
let that get
Well,
away.
I'm just talking about from a straight like I bought my
Straight
house
cash.
in 2022. How much
I
am I going
concur.
to make? And the
Right.
answer is like, not a lot, not anything compared to had you bought your house 5 years prior to that or
Yeah,
5 years
shit.
prior
Probably
to that.
2019 or 2020. You could today. Yeah, you're still doing very well. But once we hit that 22 mark, 22 is a tough year, Brian. And
Yeah,
and I think it's
remember
evident. Yeah.
rates went from because everybody was freaking out that rates went to 5.5, and it was like October they went to 8.5. And I remember we probably did a podcast. I'm sure we did. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is like the end of the world. Like to go from because earlier in the year was low fours, 4.25, and
Sure,
that was like up from the threes, and everybody thought the world's coming to an end. But 8 was like the spaceship is like aliens have landed on our planet, and we're in a like we're not in
Digging the
Kansas anymore.
bunkers, they're the MREs, meals ready to eat. They were like stashing
Yeah.
it. And, oh yeah, man.
And everybody thought, well, it's just a blip. They'll go back. They haven't gone back. They're not going to go back. Like it's very hard for even myself to wrap my head around the idea that we are unlikely to see 5% and 4% interest rates, maybe
I don't
ever
see it.
again.
Yeah, I think maybe never again. Yeah, because
That's an
well,
epic statement right there.
it's because everything's based on the 10-year Treasury. Now watch, you ready?
Yeah,
based
speaking of, can
on-
you talk about that? I've been reading about the
Yeah.
10-year Treasury in the past 24 hours. What is going on?
So the 10-year Treasury is starting to move up, and it's relatively easy. What's happened in a nutshell is the 10-year Treasury today has a yield of 4.7. Now, 10-year Treasury is considered liquid, is considered extremely conservative, it's considered extremely safe. So why is it still going up? Because our debt is going up. As our debt goes up, we have to finance more. We have to sell more treasuries. People look around, they're saying, oh, you know what? I want a higher return for my investment. And then all of a sudden, we have to borrow more because we got to pay the interest over here. Now we have to pay more interest. We have to borrow more money. Our debt goes up. So it's not a good picture, Brian.
Okay.
That's the
so what
problem.
does
That
mean
is it
for
in a
mortgage?
nutshell.
What does
So what that
mean for
means,
mortgage
so I
interest?
tell everybody, if you take the 10-year Treasury and add 2%, that's your 30-year mortgage. Because
As the Treasury
it's a
goes up,
10-year
Mortgage
Treasury.
interest rates go
Right.
up.
Think about it. It's a 10-year Treasury. We're dealing with 30-year mortgages, which are still considered somewhat safe because now they're all pseudo government. It's an FHA loan. It's backed by the FHA. It's a VA loan. It's backed by the USDA.
Yeah.
If even Fannie and Freddie are backed by, let's face it, the federal government, right? They own the federal government owns Fannie and Freddie. So at this point in time, yeah. So while we watch 10-year Treasuries go up, just keep that in mind, guys. Add 2%. That'll give you a 6.7% rate today. That's probably about right.
Tough, bro.
Now, where's the silver lining, right? The silver lining is, because I always look for silver linings, is that if your house is in really good shape, you're still going to get good top dollar.
Yeah.
And I think people have to recognize that they're going to have to reinvest in their house. It better look sexy. It better be painted. The roof better look sharp. You better have, the whole bloody thing landscaped. I mean, it's got to look good, Brian. Don't be selling a dog because there's a lot of dogs at the pound, man, and people aren't adopting dogs right now. Same thing applies to houses. People don't want to buy a dog house because they think that, even if I put the money in, it may not appreciate. But if I buy a nice house today and take care of it, it should be nice in the future. So you told me in the very beginning, and we talked about this, the number one reason the houses don't sell is because they're not in great shape.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole nother podcast. You have to understand the psychology of a buyer. It's like people make emotional decisions and justify with logic for the most part,
Correct. Correct.
and they have to have an emotional attachment to your house. So if you haven't
Yep.
done anything to create an emotional attachment to your house, and you think that the bones are what's going to sell your house, the square footage, and it's got a
That baby
good
is sailed,
insulation
man.
or
Yeah.
whatever. It's got a new roof and it's got a good HVAC or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's not it. There has to be something that creates an emotional tie. But you had mentioned that you wanted to go over a new program or maybe an existing program that would help home sellers who have
Yeah. So
maybe some
yeah.
challenges getting a hold of some cash.
So if you've got equity in the house, and equity being below an 80% loan to value, for example, right?
Okay.
We're seeing a lot of clients do one of three things. Okay, number one, they recognize that we're bringing in a real estate professional. They're identifying what needs to be done to the house, and they're saying, hey, you know what? I need to do some things to this house to make it pop, because you and I both know if the kitchen looks great, you're going to get a return on investment. What are the three things you've always told me? Kitchen, right? Number one, bathrooms, right? Number two, and what was number three, Brian?
Master bedroom.
There you go. That's the three top dogs. So if you've got, a house that needs some tender loving care in those three areas, you're going to get, your money and then some back when those three things look sharp. And so you and I talked about this before. Clients need to be reaching in either into their 401k if they want to do it that way and borrow money out. They might do a home equity line today with the idea that I'm going to pay it off in 4 months or 6 months because we're preparing for the spring market. Or we have a program called Notables where we will actually lend the money to the seller, okay? And it could be 20, 30, 40,000, $50,000, whatever it is, provided they have the equity and they have a minimum score, et cetera, right? We'll actually provide them the money to do the enhancements to the house. We recognize it's a short-term loan. Literally, we're going to put a lien on the property. We're going to take it. We're going to do the mortgage, and we're going to turn around. It's not all this high-end BS kind of stuff. And literally, why are we doing it? Because we want to get that house sold because we want the purchase, right? So we've got a program called Notables. It's kind of like a bridge, but it's not a bridge because this loan is used to enhance the sale of your current home to make it really pop. And I think that's what we talked about before. So if you've got equity in your house and you're saying, you know what, I got to do something. And Brian says, hey, John, listen, here's the deal. You look at your house, your kitchen is from 1985. Your bathrooms still have the old yellow and orange, ceiling tiles on the floors or whatever, And guess what? That master bedroom, that whole layout is kind of far out, right? I mean, you got to bring it up to speed. And so you've always said people buy from emotion.
Yeah.
Where do we spend the majority of our time? Kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, right? I mean, that's where it all comes down to. So if you want a hot house, you want it to go, you want it to be sexy, and you want to invest, that's where the money's got to go, man.
So does it show up on your debt to income ratio on your next purchase?
It does, but keep in mind, we're selling the house, right?
I got you.
Yeah, so it's not meant as a long term.
So what is the difference between that and just taking out a personal loan or taking out a home equity line of credit, or like
Yeah,
what's the advantage to it?
Dude, here's the advantage, ready? So on a home equity line, it's more intense, right? And there's more cost. On the Notables, it's not as expensive. That's number one, right? Number two, it's designed specifically. We recognize we're going to put up to a 6-month, timeline on this thing. So we're not, okay, you do a home equity line of credit. What happens if you pay it off in the first year? They come back and hit you for all their charges, all their fees, the whole nine
They got a
yards.
prepayment penalty?
Yeah, most home equity lines, it's not a prepayment, it's what I call a recovery fee.
Okay.
Which means we're going to recover all the money we spent to do this particular loan where our cost is significantly lower from that standpoint because our whole goal is to get you in and get your house sold because we recognize how challenging the market is today. That's all there is to it, man. So
All right. So what's your advice for mortgage lenders and real estate agents for the next 12 months?
So I
Uncle
think
Tim here.
So as they always say, hang on tight, right? Because look, at the end of the day, from a real estate agent standpoint, what's going to happen is you're going to have some of your agents retire. Some folks that weren't doing a lot of business are going to get out of the business. It's going to be a win-win. That's what always happens. Market contracts, so does the number of real estate agents, so does the number of loan officers. But those that stick it out, Those that keep power playing in,
Or those
when
of
it-
us that have no other skills that they can use to make a reasonable living for
that happens too. But it recovers, and when it recovers, you're going to win huge. So you got to hang
What's your
on.
advice for the next 12 months? Hang on.
Well, no, not just hang on. You've got to be a hunter.
Okay.
You can't be somebody sitting back in the room saying, "I'll just wait for the phone call. It's going to happen any day now." Bullshit. You got to get out there. You got to call on the builders. You got to call on the agents. You got to call on your clients. You got to call your past clients. You got to have events. You know, people need to remember who you are. People buy and sell houses. You got to say what's going on in your life. Oh, you're getting a divorce. Okay, I want to call the divorce attorneys. Hey, can I have the number of your attorneys so I can talk to them to make sure that we're handling this process the right way? Hey, you've just had twins. What are you guys going to do? Is the house big enough? No problem. Maybe you talk to your contractors. Hey, Bobby Joe, listen, you're doing all this work. What are you finding? Well, I just talked to Sue and Mary, and they're ready to sell their house. Guess who needs to do that listing? You got to be on the game. You got to be on the track, because every morning what happens? The lion wakes up and the gazelle wakes up. The lion is saying to himself, "Man, I got to eat today." The gazelle is saying to himself, "Man, I don't want to be eaten today," right? And at the end of the day, you got to decide, you're going to be a lion or a gazelle. Either way, you better get out there and run, baby. And that's the story from Uncle Tim today.
Thank you, Tim.
No problem, brother. All right, man. Get out there and kill it, Brian.
All right,
Remember,
Tim,
tomorrow I'm
appreciate
coming
you.
out here with my spear. Get ready to go. Get out there and hunt.
Week.
You too, man. Later.